I'm Dan Tyree here with Quail City Soccer, and we're very honored and appreciative that Todd Dunivant, the President and General Manager of the Sacramento Republic, has taken out a little bit of time on what has got to be an incredibly busy schedule to join us today. I want to give a little bit of background on Todd for those of you who might not know his background. Came from Colorado. He was a two-time high school champion, was a valedictorian of his high school class, and then went on to Stanford, where in addition to being an academic All-American, was also a first-team All-American playing soccer there prior to getting drafted to MLS. And one thing I noticed in looking at your background was, and I don't know if it's something, because knowing you a little bit, I don't know if it's something you purposely pursued or people saw this in you, but a lot of leadership positions. Going back all the way to high school, and then at Stanford, and then even working with the Player Association in MLS. Is that something you've always sought out as someone who speaks up, or something that you felt like you could bring to the table?
Yeah, maybe. First of all, thanks for having me. I mean, this is, couldn't pass up the opportunity to talk to you one last time, at least officially.
Sure.
I think one thing that I love about Sacramento and the Republic just is the relationships, and you are such an important piece of that for me, and and a big part of why I love this club. When you think back to over my 8 years, like, you're a big part of that. So,
I appreciate that, sincerely.
So that means a lot. So, to answer your question though, I think leadership isn't something I seek out in and of itself. Mm-hmm. It is really what I love about being part of sports, and this is teams, and being part of something bigger than yourself, and a lot of that just naturally comes into leadership and how you interact with teammates, players, staff, fans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all part of it, and that's the puzzle piece that makes this really fun.
And as far as, like, I think of someone who played not nearly at your level soccer, I was like, oh, well, I ended up doing some coaching, and that's sort of how I felt I could give back to the game. For you, was there a point in time when you just felt like, this is something I want to pursue as a profession after my playing days?
Yeah, that took a long time. I mean, as a player, it was the most terrifying thing. What the heck am I going to do after I'm done playing? Because that's all you know.
Right.
Yes, I went to college. Yes, I did these other things, but it was always, soccer was what I loved. That's what I did every single day for 30 years, really. And so that thought of what comes next is really terrifying. It's terrifying to athletes. It was terrifying to me. And so that was part of being part of the Players Association, was what other things can I do outside of the game that's still within the game? Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm still doing that.
Yeah, it seems you're doing okay. And as far as a player, and you're getting towards the end of your career and saying, the end's coming, were there people that you saw in leadership positions outside of the playing environment, front office, that you said, hey, I might want to do that, or I like the way they do things, or something about that inspires me, where I think I could do this maybe better, or add something that is missing? Yeah,
100%. I mean, you kind of look at who's out there that you look up to. I played with, was at LA Galaxy when I finished my last 7 years of my career. Chris Klein was a player, teammate, and then made the transition to academy director, then vice president, then president, and that was a path that I admired and really wanted to kind of seek after. And so I did coaching as well. Coached in the Galaxy Academy at the time. Got my coaching licenses. Loved coaching, but also ended up kind of feeling like the management side of the business and suited me a little bit better. And but I liked all aspects of it.
And then how did you get to that point where you think that that's something you want to pursue? And then the Deltas opportunity came up. NASL team, 1 year, ended up with a championship. How did you, one, get your foot in the door and say, hey, I'm capable of doing this, and they say, you're our guy, to ending up with the championship?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was fortunate. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought there was maybe going to be an opportunity within the walls of Galaxy. It ended up not working out, and so going outside of that, I hadn't done a ton of work and effort in looking at what other options were out there. So I kind of scrambled a little bit in the fall of 2015, and actually went up to Portland and interviewed with Adidas corporate. At the time, they were looking for somebody to kind of run their really their MLS business, and it was a huge undertaking, and had never been in the corporate world, never been in that, and so it was really fun, but also sports. So went through that whole process while I was also looking at other things, including the Deltas, and it just so happened that the two kind of lined up. I was offered both within a couple of days of each other, which was a good position to be in, and had to weigh it all out. And kind of in the end, was able to see that being part of sports, being part of a team, that is what I love. And yes, Adidas would have been an incredible job. It's still part of MLS, still part of soccer, but at the end of the day, if I wanted to be on the team side, doing that, I learned more in those 2 years of the Deltas because we started everything from scratch, and I wasn't just head of soccer operations, I was head of merchandise and head of sponsorship. So that was my first job.
Wow, that's amazing. And you win a championship. Shortly thereafter, it's I'm imagining there's probably some writing on the wall that maybe the future wasn't going to be there for the team.
Yeah.
At what point do you pivot and say, hey, what's next for me, and find this opportunity at Sac Republic?
Well, that was mid-year. We found out that we were not going to have a year two. And so it was, I gave the news in our locker room to our team and said, hey guys, this is going to be the last year the first and last year that we're together. And that was a tough news, but we also found a way to utilize it as a motivator and a thing that brought us together. Mark Dos Santos was a coach. He just got recently appointed as head coach of LAFC, and is just a fantastic manager, and was the best hire we made at the Deltas, and rode that, and that motivation actually brought the team together more of like, hey, we can feel bad for ourselves, or we can all help our futures by winning something, and that's exactly what happened.
And then, so you got half season to kind of think, what's going to be next for me and everything. And did you actively pursue the Republic opportunity, or did they reach out to you, or a combination?
Yeah, a little combination, and it was again, you're looking at coming to Sacramento, a place that I'd seen that had really exploded on the soccer scene. Caught everybody by surprise, but also just had such a bright path ahead, and really was a certainty to be an MLS team. Stadium, rail yards, just so exciting, and the leadership on the ground. Warren was at that time, sort of transitioning the club over to Kevin Nagel. Ben Gumpert had stepped in, and he was, really the one that brought me in, and just can't say enough good words about Ben Gumpert.
Well, I'll pass that along because his daughter plays on my daughter's team.
There you go. So, just so thankful for him and bringing me into the club, and, just being part of this and seeing the excitement, and, that never left me, in all 8 years. It was just, it's been an awesome ride.
It has for us as well, and I wanted to add, because I've developed a friendship with Warren, and he cannot say enough nice things about you. Really, as you know, just an incredible guy. But he said that's definitely one of the best hires I ever made, and us being able to leverage what we knew he was capable of doing, maybe even before he did some of these things. He said you just got that confidence with him that he's a straight shooter, hard worker, and if he puts his mind to something, he's gonna get something done. I'm like, sounds like the Todd I know. So it's when I told him I was going to talk to you, he said, make sure you pass that along. So I want to make sure I did that. I think it's safe to say that over your tenure at the Republic, there's been some kind of ups and downs. I've had some disappointments, particularly with the MLS thing, but I think in hearing you speak about it, I was like, we got something good here. We don't necessarily need to have MLS. I think it's something that a lot of people wanted or just finally didn't get, but that environment we have out there every day at the USL Championship, or every game at the USL Championship, is something pretty special. And I think that a lot of us feel like, I'm okay with this. I have access to players. We reach out to someone like you, and you respond. And are we going to get that at MLS level? Maybe not. So I think that's something that, as much as it was a disappointment, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like you just rolled up your sleeves and said, okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, we made a conscious decision, really, to say, look, we're not going to be in this forever cycle of always looking to MLS, right? That was the goal, that was the everything, that was the sort of North Star, but that's out of our control in a lot of ways. What's in our control is securing a new stadium site, getting a stadium built, and then from there, good things happen, right? And whatever that means. And so that was really the idea, is like, let's refocus, and that happened, really after the 21 season, and that was when, you think of 22, that was pretty magical with the Open Cup run, going to the final, beating multiple teams. All of that, we were working on the stadium site. That took years to get, everybody on board with the idea of it doesn't have to be MLS for us to do this stadium.
Right.
And ultimately bringing in Wilton Rancheria, along with Kevin, has allowed us to do that. We got the commitments from the city, from, Mayor Steinberg at the time, now Mayor McCarty, all of the city council votes, all of the, different things that we had to go through, DRV, on board with the deal with them. So it has just been a ton of work, but now couldn't be prouder of, having that. And now you go out to that site and it is unrecognizable from even groundbreaking. To see it flattened, to see the work that's been done, it's going to be great. And I'm going to be I'm going to be on the live cam whenever it gets up. I'm going to be all over that.
I bet. So I got to assume that's something that if we were to say, what are your proudest achievements, that's got to be up near the top.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's just, and also for me, I started here as a general manager, and I didn't think about marketing, ticket sales, those types of things, and certainly not building a stadium and, going down to City Hall. All of that was something that evolved in my role and responsibilities, and, that's something that I take with me, and that was fun, and the relationships that came out of that, and what an opportunity for me in a growth capacity, and just to be able to lead this club in, a really difficult time after, Ron Burkle stepped away, and, the club, there was a lot of people that didn't know we were going to even exist, and that was kind of the rumors, the club's going to, that was what most people were saying, is like, oh, when are you shutting the doors? Kevin Nagel doubled down, and we just got back to work.
Yeah, and we're seeing the reaping the benefits of that now, and I think a lot of people don't comprehend, what having a stadium means. With us being the Republic, being a tenant out at Cal Expo, having concessions, parking that doesn't go to the team. Basically it's ticket sales, and you pay rent there, pay concessions. To now having something that a lot of those revenues are going to go into the team that can invest in bringing in bigger players, more amenities, different type of experience for the fans that come, you name it. So I think that is something that, as a fan from day one, I'm really looking forward to. And every time I see that, we talk about, hey, first statue out there's got to be Roro. We got to have something out there, commemorating our best player. But I think a lot of people are going to see the work that you put in, and I can't tell you how many City Hall meetings I went to, and around town, seeing you walk out of some restaurant with some politicians and stuff, and you clearly wore more than the two hats that you have with your title here, and it's going to be an incredible legacy.
Thank you. I honestly, it's the work of, happened long before I was here, and I think that's what's gratifying for me now that I'm leaving, is just knowing that it's going to carry on and the club is going to move forward. Everything is about moving this incredible club forward, and I'm so lucky to have been part of it for eight years. That's not an easy thing in pro sports, and what we accomplished here was amazing. So proud of that, and we'll be here for ribbon cutting and all of the fun that's going to come with that. It's you're part of this bigger community that never leaves.
Absolutely.
It doesn't we have all been through so much together. And those memories, those relationships, that last forever. So that's, for me, the fact that Warren said those kind words, that means a lot. I think there's an understanding that once you're part of something like this, it's unique. The Sacramento Republic does not exist in any place but this, and that goes further than just the name or it being a soccer club. This is something different and special, and that's why I think the future is so limitless here.
Absolutely, and I would concur. I wanted to ask you, because I think I probably know the answer to this, but if there were some biggest disappointments or things that you felt like, yeah, I'm going to this opportunity, not no regrets as far as that goes, but things I would have liked to accomplish that I wasn't quite able to. Not just you, because obviously it is a team that supports you, that you support. Any things that you felt like, man, I wish I could have gotten this done?
Of course. I mean, that's part of being in sports. Every year you want to do more. You want to win championships. You want to bring titles. I think, we were so close this year with the Jaeger Cup. We were so close with the Open Cup. I couldn't be prouder. I'll go back to the Open Cup. I mean, what we did, it may never happen again. I don't know. It was that I think astonishing in the modern game and the advantages that are out there. It was remarkable what our club did and our city did, and I think everyone felt that, and it was just such a incredible thing. So I have zero regrets about that. And I think when you're in something like this, and even when when the opportunity came up for me, while exciting, it also, my reaction is your heart sinks, because you are so invested. I'm so invested in this place and its success, and the biggest thing is you just don't want to let people down,
Right.
and you don't want to let your fellow teammates inside these walls down, and that's the part that's the hardest for me. But I think as good news continues to come in about what's happening at this club in the future, that just lifts me up, because this place is going exactly where it needs to go.
Absolutely, and a lot of people thank for that. But I want to ask also, because I think it's interesting, my perception of what a sporting director is, and I think even though you didn't have that specific title, there was nobody with that specific title here, you did a lot of those sort of things, player acquisition, things of that nature. I remember when you came from the Delta, I asked you, like, oh, are there any players that are going to come from that team here? And he's like, I don't think so. I think, what we're looking to do here is going to be at this level, and if I had a player I thought that could do it, I'd go after it. So what do you look for in players that you want to bring into clubs that you're leading?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at kind of your game model, your work with your coach, and work within what the club values are. I think that was an important thing of what we did that really shifted our focus back in the 21-22 offseason, was really getting down to identifying what our club stood for, who we were as a club, what Indomitable meant, what winning mentality was, what unified community was, and then we wanted to recruit players that fit that, and also fit within the game model, within the characteristics that we wanted for our player profiles and our positional profiles. So you put all that together, it's a complicated jigsaw, but a good one, and every team's a little different, every club's a little different, and so you kind of have to go in and do a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and the answers become clear. But really, you want people who represent what your club's about, and I think that's first and foremost. And it's one of the things we're really proud of the teams and the players that we've had. They do, I think, represent that, and they have that locker room camaraderie that I think gives you the best chance to do something.
Absolutely, and the one thing I as a fan, as someone who's interacted with a lot of players, that knows some of the players, the one thing that I see consistent that I think is incredibly important, I remember it was one of the newer players this past season. Saw him down in the store, and he said, so hey, I'm new to Sacramento, what's it like and everything. So I'll tell you one thing, if I'm going to give you one piece of advice, Sacramento loves people that love Sacramento.
Yeah.
And if you are leaving it all out there, everybody's going to love you. If you act like you don't want to be here, people will turn. And that's one thing to me that's been consistent all the way from seeing after a hard loss, Roro saying, we got to go greet the fans.
Right.
They came here, we got to go do that. I remember one time he had a red card, was out of a game, came up and drummed a TBB.
Yeah.
Got to do something. And I think that is an element that maybe some clubs don't see, because I saw some new signings we've had recently.
Yeah.
And the first message was, I can't wait to play in front of those spectators, those
Yeah.
fans. I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's something that clearly was important to you, because it's been consistent across every player I've interacted with, and I think it's a key component to the love that this community has for the team.
Yeah, and again, it's a little bit of a secret, Sacramento. It's gotten out, I think, but it's not the world-renowned city, at least in terms of being high profile. But
Sure.
Once you're here, once you feel it, once you see it, you're like, wow, this place is special. And we've had very, very, very few players or employees that have ever said a bad thing about this place.
Yeah, and that's how we like it. I was going to ask you if, and this is more just like a personal question, personal opinion, because I think we don't know for sure, but what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a pursuit of MLS by the club? Do you think that they're could potentially be a move to MLS in the future?
Yeah, you never can rule anything out, right? And I think that's true of that. I think we don't have to, the club doesn't have to be MLS, but if that is an opportunity that comes up and it makes sense, we have an ownership group that has an appetite for it, and I think a city and a fan base that has an appetite for it. That said, it doesn't have to happen. So I think it's a kind of the best position to be in, because it would be nice, it would make sense, only if it makes sense. And I think that's how it's gotta be seen. So I think we have ambitious owners, we have an ambitious city, and this has already been rubber stamped once for MLS, and the reaction was 12,000 people on Capitol Mall on a moment's notice.
Sure.
They'd never seen anything like that, and they haven't seen anything like that since.
Sure.
In terms of their expansion teams and expansion cities. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. I think it's I think when you see what happens with this stadium and this build out, having 31 acres downtown, that not just half of that's the stadium, half of it can be developed. That doesn't exist anywhere in the league, in any league. And I think that says a lot about where the future's going, and the opportunity is massive. I don't know any league that wouldn't want to be part of that.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's a league that agrees with you if they decide to go that route. I was going to ask that as you have this new opportunity coming ahead of you, going into next year, I'm assuming, just based on the Republic, you got limited resources. As far as you can't have a 100-person staff, you can have everyone that has this. Everyone does multiple jobs. You don't have an assistant person to you that's reinforcing what you do on the player acquisition side, things of that nature, and leadership. So there's not this true succession model. But obviously someone's going to come in and take the place that you had. What words of advice would you give to them as far as how to be successful, how to, one, continue on what you're doing and what you've done, and then to take it to the next level? Yeah,
I mean, that's a good question. I think in my role, it's so important to be collaborative. There's different ways to do it, but I think when you're able to we have so many good people here, and you're really as good as the people around you, and that's where the success comes. So it's less about, for me, giving edicts and, ordering demands. It's like asking the smart people around me. And we have an unbelievable executive team in this office. We have great directors. We have, an incredible coaching staff and technical staff, the best in the league, hands down. Neil Collins is the best coach in the league, and he's going to do big things here. And you can talk to the players about that. You can talk to staff. He has a presence and a style that is, breeds success. It always has, and you can see why after dealing with Matt. When I had, I think, his first week, it was pretty clear. I mean, obviously the interview process, we had a lot of good coaches, but Neil stood out because of what he brought to the table. So the pieces are in place, and for me, it was just important to try to let them be their best.
There's one, and this to me is probably, as there's many hard parts to your job, but when you look at things didn't end the way we would have liked to this season. Yeah, we made the playoffs. I think in many ways it was a success, but we're always looking for championships. Didn't quite get there. As soon as that, I was on the plane coming back from Las Vegas the previous year after we lost in penalties, and saw how down the team was, and I kind of picked up that now is the evaluation process of who we're going to keep, who we're going to bring in, and who we're going to have to let go. And I'm sure that's the hard part. People you built relationships with, having to say, there's not a place for you here anymore.
Yeah.
How do you go through that to decide what is going to, one, continue on the strength we have? In this case, we have a very strong defense that seems they're going to keep that core there, and we seem to have a problem scoring some goals.
Yeah.
That creative side of it. So is that kind of like, from a broad standpoint, okay, we need to address these sort of things, that's the direction we're going to go?
I think you nailed it. I mean, we were good at keeping the ball out of the net, and had a difficult time putting it in the net. So that's a big focus, is getting some goals in the team, and getting a mindset of creative mentality in the group. I think it's something Neil's focusing on. How do we unlock that in our players? How do we give them the freedom to make plays and to take chances in the right areas of the field, to make something happen. So that's a big part of it. And I think when you talk about the evaluation period, you don't want that to be on the plane ride back. You don't want it to be in your highest emotional state when you do feel like, disappointment and all those things. Because that's most seasons, unfortunately. Most seasons, that's how it's going to end. You want to win every single year, and you want to set yourself up for that. But you also want to, plan a little bit out. And those decisions aren't just made overnight. There's some that you kind of have to wait and see. But most of those you evaluate all the time. And I think that took me a while to realize as a player that you're sort of every day is your tryout. Mm-hmm. And that never ends. And I've taken that attitude and mindset, into my post-playing career, and this idea, and that's how we kind of define our, one of our core values is winning mentality. And because we know you're not going to win every time, you're not going to win every game, you're not going to win every championship, but you can have a winning mentality, and that's the idea that you're looking to prove yourself every day. So that's how we define that, and it's pretty simple. And if you think like that and you start to get that, it's a pretty good thing. As a player, it's difficult. We had a lot of success. You win a championship, you've achieved now. You've achieved the pinnacle, and you feel pretty good about yourself. Sure. But how do you keep that hunger? How do you keep that? And, that was something that took a little while to figure out exactly how to, have that right mindset.
So now you have this opportunity with New York City FC. Maybe there's details you can't go into, but at a high level, what you can share, how'd that all come about?
Yeah, I mean, it came up, towards the end of the year, and they obviously lost their sporting director to another opportunity. And, as I, again, first started looking at it, it's one of the ones that is a marquee club, marquee city, of course. And then you think about City Football Group and what that means as a sort of parent company, if you will. And you put all that together, it's a pretty incredible, mix, and, something that I certainly was excited about, but also, wanted to do the due diligence and just understand it all. But the more you get into it, the more impressed you are with the people who run it, leadership on the ground in New York, and really their vision for what City Football Group means. It's pretty incredible to be part of something like that. It was always going to take a lot to leave, and I never had planned to leave. That wasn't something I was seeking. But when an opportunity like that comes, you have to look at it, and it was really too good to pass up.
Totally understand that. I think as I look at it, and you must have evaluated all the different challenges that come along with that. The expectations are going to be pretty high. You're in New York City, which there's going to be a huge microscope on the team. You got fans that are going to be expecting a good team to become a better team. But as you look at that, and you look at someone like Inter Miami, they brought in a Messi, globally one of the biggest sports stars in the world. Obviously, he can still play a little bit. And you played with Beckham in LA and saw the different aspects of bringing a designated player, particularly someone who's a high profile. Do you look at New York City as a place where you have to bring in some name players that are going to have some name recognitions to sell tickets, while also, I know it's not going to be enough. You also want them to obviously be able to compete on the field and make you a better team. Is there any sort of thought process that we need to have some of our players known by your more casual soccer fans?
Yeah, that debate happens, I think, all the time, and it has happened, throughout this process. But I think it's going to happen. There's, New York's going to be opening a stadium as well in 2027, and there's parallels there as well to what obviously we're doing. So that was attractive. Having a stadium in New York City is just going to be insane and a complete game changer for the club. It's really kind of now fulfilling what it was always brought into the league to do, and there was a lot of hard work that went into that. There's a lot of parallels, their stadium journey and ours, frankly, and I saw that and going through the process. This was a long slog for New York to secure their stadium and get it going, and they're about a year ahead of where we are in Sacramento. They have steel coming out of the ground. I stood in the locker room and could still see the field. You know, it's kind of a shell at this point, but just gives you chills because, you know, for me, we're designing the stadium here in Sacramento, and so there were so many similarities, and I probably had some questions I didn't quite expect, the level of detail, you know, but it was just an awesome thing to see, and, you know, I think the club itself started with 3 big name DPs, and Pirlo, Villa, and Lampard, and so they have done that, and they also are in a period, you know, and they kind of went away from that a little bit. So that's going to be something that we'll talk about and you know, debate a little bit and figure out what model makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's I anticipated you would. During the interview process, they ever sit you down and have you explain the GAM, TAM, DP allocation stuff, and what is your understanding of all that? Because as someone who follows the game pretty closely, it is so confusing.
It is. Fortunately, I was part of multiple collective bargaining agreements, so I'm very familiar with the system. We helped, you know, navigate it and design it with the league and the players. So that's something that I'm comfortable with. You do need a doctorate in MLS to understand all of the intricacies, and they evolve over time. So there's always things that need to be freshened up. Fortunately, we have a really great team already at New York that understand that, and just so happens the league office is a few blocks over, so it can always pop down the street to check in, you know, with headquarters and do that. So that part I'm not worried about. I think for me, you know, the relationships as well. Like I spent 13 years in the league, and you know, it's already been fun reconnecting with a lot of folks. Not that I've been completely disconnected, but being back in that world, you know, it's kind of sparked some of those relationships again, which has been fun.
Were you pleasantly surprised, as I was, because I thought, you know, New York City, they all someone from Sacramento, the response you being named got? Because there were some negative aspects, but the vast majority I saw were really positive. I said, oh my God, this is the type of person that we need. Was that what you expected at all, or?
You know, I didn't know what to expect. You never do. But you probably wouldn't be surprised to know that I don't read comments, and that's not, you know, where I get my validation from. You know, I think I am genuinely excited, just as I was here, to absolutely dive into the club, the fan base, the, you know, supporters, all those things. I can't wait to do that there as well. I played in New York for a season with the Red Bulls, and so I know the city. I know, you know, what it's like to be part of a club in New York. So that helps as well. I was in my mid-20s and single. Now I'm 20 years later and married with 3 kids. So different life stage, but also I think it's really valuable for me because New York is a massive place, but also its own community and has its own lifeblood, and not something that scares me in the slightest. I lived there. I loved it. And ironically, we went and did a family vacation there this last summer, long before this opportunity, and, you know, my daughter claimed it as her favorite city in the world. And
awesome.
She was born in LA and has been LA through and through. Even though she moved when she was 1, you know, she quickly fell in love with New York. So yeah, well, we're going to adapt, and I think there's so many exciting aspects to it, but that part doesn't scare me.
Oh, I'm sure it doesn't. And it's funny with your daughter. My son was young when I moved to New York City, and he loved taking the subways. He was probably 3 years old and knew how to flag a taxi, and just still has very fond memories of it. And the one thing that I took from New York City was, it's obviously a massive city, but I was there on 9/11, and the sense of community, because you're not jumping in your car going places, you're going to the subway, you're going to the corner store, there's a sense of community there that a lot of people don't get it.
Yeah, 100%.
They just don't get it. And I think that you guys will enjoy it, fit right in, have a blast. And before we wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to just, you know, anything you'd like to say, because obviously everyone doesn't get this great access that I do to come chat with you and everything. Just anything, you know, passing words as far as your time here at Sacramento, what it's meant to you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, honestly, it's gratitude. You know, I am so thankful to so many people, starting with Kevin Nagel, for giving me this opportunity, for Ben Gumpert for believing in me, for our team here, our executive team, our great coaches that we've had over the years that I've had relationships with. I mean, just on and on. I can't name everybody, but we have, to be part of this community, to be part of, to be able to interact with the fan base, for them to want to say goodbye to me, that means a lot. And so it's going to be hard. I've been emotional. It's going to be hard to, close out these last couple of weeks, but it is such a special place. I'm so fortunate to have been part of it. And I think what it's given me is perspective as well. Sitting in the roles that I have, it's given me perspective that this club, this place, is bigger than all of us. And it will, for me, it was here before I came. It'll be here after I'm gone. And to be able to have an impact on it, that never leaves me, and hopefully it never leaves the club. And I'm proud of being part of this, and seeing where it was, where it is now, and where it is going is just exciting. And that's something that very few people get to, have the access and see the things that I've seen and been part of. But it's given me that perspective that this is bigger than all of us, and we are fortunate. I am so lucky to have been able to do this for so long and meet people like you, and been able to be part of this great community.
Well, no, we really appreciate that, and I wanted to, and they allowed me to have this opportunity to just kind of share briefly that 2 years ago I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I was motivated by a video that you guys have put out on Roto coming back from one of his injuries.
Yep.
And how hard he was working for something he believed in, and it really inspired me, and I shared that with you. You shared it with members of the club. I heard from coaches, I heard from some players, I heard from some people in the front office, and get a little emotional because it really means a lot. I have met a lot of other people that are going through cancer. They don't have the amount of people on their side rooting for them that I've been fortunate to have. And you're one of those people that, I try not to bug you too much, but when I reach out, you always respond, always have a kind word. And when I had my little get together, you came out there, and it meant a lot to my family, to me. It really said a lot to me about the person that you are beyond your position here. And I can't thank you enough. It means a lot to me, and you'll always have friends here. We'll always be appreciative of that. And like I said, to me, that's more important than all of your accomplishments here in the soccer world. And I thank you for that.
That's amazing. No, thank you. That gets me, because this is, like you said, this is bigger than just what we do on the field, and I don't get to be on the field anymore. So, it's all the other stuff that I think you get perspective for, and it's what you meant in the letters you've shared. I've shared that with the staff. We take collective pride in knowing that our platform, being a soccer team, which sounds like just kind of fun and whatever, it means a lot. And it means a lot more than just wins and losses. It means something to people and to the community, and that is the perspective that I think is so profound. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And on behalf of Quail City Soccer, really appreciate you taking the time. Wish you nothing but the best for you and your family. We'll be rooting for you, and I may pick up a NYCFC kit next season and definitely watch some of the games, but I'm sure it'll be a success, and I can't wait to see it.
Amazing. Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome.